Awesome. Now, I've been asked to introduce our next speaker. We've got a very special guest. We're very lucky to have him in the room for a couple of reasons. His schedule is so in demand. He's normally speaking all over the world, so we're lucky to get him in the room. But also, 3 weeks ago, he had an accident. So he had a bike accident, broke both his arms. So if you can imagine, well, it was a wrist and shoulder, so he was in a sling and a cast, right? And so he's a friend of mine, so I helped him out, because obviously that's a little restrictive, and went to the hospital, and the doctors told him, it's going to be 6 weeks, you're going to be like this. But Peter, who's our special guest who you're going to hear from in a moment, he doesn't think the same as normal people, or he does not accept belief systems imposed on people from other people that put them onto us, because he's due next week to take his high-level coaching clients trekking gorillas in the African jungle, right? So he said, no, 6 weeks is not good enough. I'm going to heal myself quicker. And I've literally seen him do this, because I've been around him this last couple of weeks. We went to the hospital last week, and they did x-ray and removed the cast and the sling. The doctor said they'd never seen someone heal the shoulder as fast in 2 weeks and 2 days. 2 weeks and 2 days. But that's because Peter understands the power of the mind and human behavior, so you guys are going to hear from him in a moment. But I just wanted to share with you just a little bit about how I actually met him, because there's some interesting learning points that you'll find valuable. It was some time ago, it was some years ago. Are you guys familiar with Tony Robbins? Yes. I love Tony Robbins. Now, Peter is actually Tony Robbins' youngest leadership trainer. He became Tony's senior leadership trainer, and for 15 years was training Tony's trainers. That's who you're about to hear from, all right? But going back a few years, I went to my first Tony Robbins event. It's called Unleash the Power Within. You guys familiar with that? It's pretty crazy. You walk on fire. It's nuts, all right? 50 hours of content. However, during those 50 hours of content, there was 3 little words that really stuck with me and became so powerful, it's changed the trajectory of my life. Would you like to know what the 3 words are? Yeah. Okay. Please write this down. Proximity is power. And how I interpreted that was, if you're here in life and you want to be here in life, go find the people who are where you want to be. Get in the vicinity. If you're in the vicinity, and as you get to know people and some deals go down, you might get a piece of the action. You're there, you can be part of it. And so that really struck a chord with me. So back in the days when I was struggling by, and I hadn't had the levels of success yet, I started to become more conscious of that, consciously aware to be around people more successful than me. Now, I went to a wealth mastery event, which is one of Tony Robbins' other events. You guys heard of that? He does this Date with Destiny and these other events. But I couldn't afford the ticket. It was like £1,000 for the ticket. So I said to my friend, I was with my friend, I said, do you know what? Let's just go to the bar after the event, right? Because I thought the people who are attending that event are going to be really good quality people. They're the kind of people I'd like to meet and be around. So, silly thinking at the time, but my friend was like, yeah, let's do that. We'll meet some cool people. So we went to the bar, right? And my friend, he knew about Peter. I didn't know who Peter was. He nudged me and said, oh, look, that's Peter Sage over there. I was like, Peter who? I didn't know. He's like, man, Peter, he's like a young Richard Branson. Actually, he's kind of alike. This is how he described him, as a cross between Tony Stark and Richard Branson. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. And he shared a little, because he knew a little bit about Peter, and there's a Dragon's Den thing. Are you guys familiar with Dragon's Den? Yes. There's Dragon's Den, and in the US, there's Shark Tank, where you get business guys pitch their idea in front of investors. Well, so my mate's telling me that when they came up with the idea for Dragon's Den, the producers, they were looking for the first set of dragons, right? Someone had told them about Peter, so they check him out, they interview him, they go to his home and interview him for 5 hours, right? They love him, they want him on the first season, right? But unfortunately, Peter, he was in Vancouver at the time when they were filming, so he couldn't make the filming schedule, so he said to them, there's a couple of my friends, why don't you have a chat with Duncan Bannatyne and Simon Woodruff, right? Do you guys remember those? And of course, they've become like mega stars on the back of the show, really famous. And I'm hearing this from a mate. I'm like, oh, okay, this guy sounds really cool. And in my head, I'm thinking proximity is power. But I'm super shy, and you know, I was no one, so I'm like, okay, I'd had a couple of glasses of red wine. So I get a little bit merry after a couple. And so I thought, you know, I'm just going to introduce myself to him. And so I go up to him, introduce myself. Hi, Peter. My name's Minesh. And the rest is history from there, because he was so nice, such an amazing, warm, kind, generous guy, right, meeting him that night. And I've got to know him very well. He's become one of my dearest friends over the years. And I was just honored to learn from him, because don't you want to learn from someone like that? Yeah. So I've had him as my mentor for many years now. And over the years, I've seen him share the stage with Sir Richard Branson, Kofi Annan, President Bill Clinton. I've seen him work on billion-dollar businesses, a space project. Actually, I had the pleasure of working with him out in Dubai. We had this big villa on the Palm in Dubai, working on this space project that was going to put satellites into low Earth orbit and geosynchronously beam clean energy on demand to any location on Earth. How badass is that? But that's what this guy is like. You know, he's known in the business world as an extreme entrepreneur. He's had multiple startups, and I had the pleasure to work with him on that. He's had a #1 Amazon bestseller. He's a philanthropist. He's personally raised over $1 million for charities. He spoke in 60 countries. And 3 years ago, Inspired Leadership recognized him as one of the top leaders and entrepreneurs alongside Sir Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg. Right. And so I've just learned so much from him, and I'm honored that we've got him here, and you guys are going to hear from him. He is probably, because I follow a lot of personal development, I hear a lot of speakers. For me personally, the best person I've ever known at helping ordinary people understand the principles of human behavior and peak performance. So please, you guys are in for a treat. Please be upstanding. Let's give a massive warm welcome for Peter Sage.
Thanks, brother.
Awesome. Love you, man. Love you. And for Minesh, guys, give him some love. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Wow. Please, grab a seat. Feeling amazing. I never knew you hadn't bought the ticket. Oh, wow, guys. That was exceptionally humbling. I'm standing at the back there thinking, shut up and get on with it. Yeah, one of the things I love to remind myself of, and also everybody that I'm gracious enough to, who give me their time to listen, is that I'm just a normal guy. Yeah, all I am is a person who right now happens to be at the front of the stage. But as you're going to hear and learn as we journey our next hour or so together, you guys are front and center of your own stage, and that's just as important. And so if there's ever the illusion that I bring more to the table, it's just that, an illusion, because my own job here, certainly for the time that we have together, is to do nothing more than hold up a mirror to show you your own greatness. It's just that sometimes our mirror gets a little foggy, doesn't it? And so if you'll permit me to share with you some of my own lessons, stories, anecdotes over the next little while, and hopefully entertain and inspire you as we can, All I really want you to concentrate on is wiping the fog off your own mirror to be able to see that we're all made of the same stuff. You know, I know how you feel when you feel happy because I know how I feel when I feel happy. I know how you feel when you feel sad because I know how I feel when I feel sad. I know how you feel when you break your arm and your shoulder and you can't wipe your... No, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Right? And no, he didn't help me with that. There was a line drawn at one point. But yes, no, very grateful that yeah, I'm out of plaster and I can move around. And yeah, that was 3 weeks ago, and everything's good. So I will be going trekking gorillas unless I fall off the stage. So we'll see what happens. But yes, I'd like to really just say that I've never really seen an audience, and I've seen quite a few audiences over the years, guys. I've never really seen an audience where at the end of a Saturday, they have as much energy as they had when they started. So my question to you is this, yeah, from everybody at the back to everybody up here, is do you guys have what it takes to bring this baby home today? Yeah? I thought so. Okay, so I'm not going to hold back. And here's what I've been looking at, you know, since I've been sitting down, I've been going through the whole day with you guys, and I never really know what I'm going to say because I like to try and tune in. So over the last few hours, I've been sitting there thinking, oh, what are some of the themes that are really common to you guys that will add the most value to you that I can probably, hopefully drill down on a little bit and leave you with something that can really make a difference going out. Because, you know, if you don't make a shift today, you basically have bought some entertainment. And if you really wanted to be entertained, you could have stayed at home and watched the rugby on Netflix. You know? And that's not why you're here. You're here because you're leaders in your own right and you were born to inspire people and you're on that journey already. So, you know, if I can share with you some things that'll help you do that and actually go make a difference, then, you know, I've served you and that's really why I want to be here. Now, if you disagree with some of the things I'm going to share with you today, that's okay. That's what makes things happen. But I can promise you, I went after this information with a passion. It was like, you know, what is it that really makes the difference to people who, you know, against all of the odds, they start with nothing, or they've lost their homes, or, you know, they've got no education, or they didn't have their parents' credit cards, or any of that stuff. But, you know, they really take the bat off their shoulder and swing and go knock it out of the park, and everybody else goes, wow. Versus those that start with all of the resources in their favor. They tick every single box on what you'd bet on the odds, and they never really do anything. And what's the difference that makes the difference? It can't be skill set. You know, we all have the same basic IQ, plus or minus. It can't be opportunity. You know, we all have access to the same opportunities. In fact, we're living in the greatest time in human history where opportunity has never been so prevalent or so easy to get into. And I used to have to invest £1 million in capital expenditure to be able to build an infrastructure for a business that you can get 10 times better now for $6 a month on an app. I mean, that's the reality of the world we live in, right? There's no barrier to entry for entrepreneurs these days. But there are some common threads that stop us from moving forward to be able to realize that potential. And that's really what I want to share with you today is 3 major keys that I really want to give you that you can actually take away and make a difference with. And this isn't more of a how-to as opposed to a who do you need to become, because that's really where it starts. And there's 2 major places in the human psyche which govern what I call the maturation principle, which, you know, really governs your emotional maturity. Because have you noticed that while we don't get to vote on whether we mature biologically, that's kind of, you know, off the table. Yeah, no matter how many creams or pills you can take, right? That's going to happen. We don't get to choose. But we do get to choose whether we grow up emotionally, do we not? Yeah, or spiritually. And for many people, they don't realize they have that choice. So there's 2 kind of key areas. But first, I'm going to ask somebody, who wants to share with me, what's your greatest fear? Facebook Live. Yeah. Well, hopefully you conquered that one today. Was that you, my love? It was. Okay. Hey, I like to reward first person to speak. So there's a copy of that book that Minesh was talking about. I can't plug it, so I won't tell you it's the fastest way to change your life, or it's available in all good bookstores online. No, it's all good. That's a little gift for you, my love. Ella, give her a hand. Hey, thank you. Hey, I promise you read that, you will not be scared of Facebook or anything else. No, the biggest fear most people have usually is really what I call goop. In fact, most people spend their life swimming in goop. What do I mean by that? The good opinion of other people, which also you just heard in the phrase of Facebook Live. Same thing, is it not? Good opinion of goop is a nasty, sticky, smelly mess you want to get the hell out of. Trust me. And I'm going to teach you how to do that today and hopefully never look back on it again. But it requires you being able to make some shifts here that once you burst the illusion, never come back. So the real key point, the first point in the maturation principle is this. It's when you finally grow up to become okay with not being liked. And for many people, that's scary because they're still craving the love they thought they wanted to get from when they were a kid, from the people they most wanted it from and perceived they didn't get. And so we spend the rest of our life running around looking for somewhere to plug in our umbilical cord. And that's where goop tends to really drive us. So if you can finally grow up to the point where you're actually okay not being liked, that you start to achieve social freedom. And from there, you have a very different life. Now, please don't understand or hear this from the place of saying, oh, that means I don't care what other people think, and then think that means you don't care. See, what I'm saying here is not about not caring. Caring is an attribute of your value structure. It's a value of who you are as a person with your empathy and wanting to do good for other people. What I'm saying is there's a difference between that, which is character-led, versus worrying or caring about what other people project onto you as their own opinion, because that's fear-led. Does that make sense? Yeah. And letting go of one doesn't mean letting go of the other. So I can quite honestly tell you that if you don't get out of goop, you've got a very different life. Because what you will be lacking is the one key in this industry that separates you from all of the snake oil salesmen that are out there. And that is authenticity. And you've heard it through several different ways from all of the speakers on stage here today. Authenticity is what people crave these days in a world of marketing. Authenticity is what you'll use to connect with people that will allow them to trust you to say, hey, I'm going to listen to this person. And you can't be authentic if you're constantly filtering through what does this person think of me, because unconsciously you'll be changing yourself like a chameleon to fit somebody else's pictures so you don't trip over what you think is the tripwire of your own fear based upon their judgment. And how many of us do that already? Come on, let's own it, right? All the time. So being able to let go of the good opinion of other people and be okay not being liked really is nothing more than letting go of a ghost. Why is it a ghost? I'll share with you. You see, we all star in a movie called The Movie of Our Life. How many people agree with that, by the way? Yeah. Right? If you're a film extra in somebody else's movie, I've got news for you. We need to talk. Right? But we are star in the movie of our life. Every single one of us. Why? Because we're in every scene. We're the only one that's in every scene, are we not? Okay? And that means that everybody else in your movie, by very definition, is one of two roles. They're either a supporting cast, maybe, spouse, loved one, child, parent, whatever it may be, or 99.9% of people in your movie are going to be nothing more than what? Extras. Now, here's where the trap comes in. Follow me carefully. Because we see ourselves as the star of our movie, we automatically assume that everybody else sees us as the star of our movie. Everyone see where I'm going with this? But we're not the star in their eyes because they're starring in a different movie. What movie are they starring in? Their own damn movie. And for some of them, they like the tragedy. They like the drama. And they like to recruit you into their movie of that, do they not? But here's the major point. By the very definition of them starring in their movie, what role do you play in their movie? At best, you may be a supporting cast on people in one hand in your lifetime, but 99% of people that you will meet in your lifetime, you are nothing more than a film extra in their movie acting in that particular scene. Everybody follow me? Yes. All right? So here's the truth, and if I could get you to tattoo this on the inside of your eyelids, I would do. All right? Most people don't care enough about you to bother to give an opinion. Why? Because they're too busy being worried about what they think you're thinking of. Finish it. Yeah. Thank you. How many people just woke up? How many people just realized what the game really is? I mean, I'll give you in a context, in a bar, when I was 18, see if you can follow this, guys and girls. And standing there, and the guy looks across in the nightclub, and he sees a girl, and there's a bit of an eye contact, and maybe a bit of chemistry, and I'm thinking, you never know what might happen. And so the guy starts having this internal dialogue, and it usually runs something like this. Oh, wonder if she noticed my form yet. Yeah? What if she noticed if I paid with a 20 instead of a 10? Yeah? What if she noticed my fake Rolex, you know? Whatever it may be. Now, what's actually going on in the girl's head? Guys, I'll tell you. I wonder if you notice if my hair's gone flat. I wonder if you noticed the ladder in my tights. Yeah? You get the point. All right? That's the concept. Everyone's living in their own bubble thinking everybody else cares about their bubble. Everybody's too busy being worried about what they think you're thinking them to even volunteer an opinion. And if you do still live under the illusion that they have an opinion of you, then let me share with you one of the phrases that I live by. And this, again, it kills goop stone dead. Everybody else's opinion is none of your damn business. Case closed. Why? Because people can only ever project from where they're at. Let me say it a different way. If somebody doesn't agree with you, what do most people do? They try to argue their case, right? Well, why would you expect somebody to agree with you if it wasn't their truth? Well, I'll tell you. It's because you're so insecure about your own, you need validation. I see that went down well. But it's true. The reason we try to enforce our own model of the world onto other people is because underneath we are seeking external validation in order to feel good about it, liked, accepted, approved of, fill in the blank. And when we can let go of that and live our own truth independent of the good opinion of others and stop swimming in goop, we start coming from a place of that authenticity because now we're no longer afraid. And do you know what the paradox is? Far more people like you. It's just that you don't need them to like you now in order to feel good enough about yourself. Can you see the difference? Yes. That's freedom right there, guys. That'll allow you to go through all of the negatives that happen in this business. That'll allow you to bear the storm of the rejection, the ridicule, the people standing on the sidelines. Saying, oh, no, you're not doing that network market pyramid what's it thing again, are you? Oh, I knew somebody who did that. 5 years later, got divorced. And all of that stuff, right? And instead of coming from a place of anger or judgment or argumentative, you come from a place of compassion. Because now you understand that people can only ever project from the place that they're at. And if they don't have the courage yet to do what you've had the courage to do, then at least be an example, not an argument. Make sense? Yes. So getting out of goop is a huge part of success in this business, if not life. And you can always tell the people that are still stuck there. And if you lower your guard for a moment, it starts to creep back in because society imposes on you through the media, through peer group pressure, all of that stuff that we start to gravitate back down to, I wonder what they'll think. Every marketing message out there from big corporate will tell you that you need to buy their stuff, their crap, in order to look a certain way, feel a certain way, smell a certain way, whatever it may be, or the subtext being, you're not good enough yet. And I'm here to tell you, you were born good enough. Nobody's got the right to tell you you're not. And when you can start being comfortable and okay with not being liked because you like yourself more than somebody else's false opinion, then you can start being a real leader in your organization. How does that sound? Yes. Love that. Now, one of the second key principles or the key turning points in a person's life when it comes to emotional maturity is where you realize that life itself is a growth-centric experience. I'll say that again. When you come around to understand the truth that life is a growth-centric experience, not a comfort-centric experience, your life changes in that moment. You see, we're here for a reason. I think that's pretty obvious. The reason is we're here to learn how to grow up emotionally. How do I know that? Look at 400 million years of fossil records, and you spot something that we call evolution. What is real evolution? Evolution is where life recreates itself with ever-increasing levels of complexity. Would you agree? So you take an amoeba, single cell, you take a human body of 50 to 100 trillion cells, some people a bit more, and this human being requires an enormous amount of additional complexity in order to operate. Now, if you took 50 million amoebas and one food source, that's got a war. going to happen right there. Whereas over here with the human body, everything has to cooperate to get its share. So if we understand that cooperation is really what's required in order to grow or evolve, and we extrapolate out what cooperation really means at its end point, we get one word. What do you think it is? Begins with L. Love. Is not the ultimate expression of cooperation love? In other words, you're a love machine waiting to happen. Sorry, guys. We're here to grow up to become kinder, more benevolent, more loving, more evolved versions of ourselves. And to do that, we have to go to the gym. Now, I call this Earth School. Because if you don't know what school is about, you start resisting what school presents to you. How many people here have 0 challenges in their life? Yeah, okay. One person on drugs at the back. So, we're here in Earth School. Now, if you didn't know what school was about and you were sent to school and you had no context for it, you'd start resisting it, would you not? But like, why am I being told to sit here and listen to this guy? And why am I being told to walk down there and then sit down? And why have this test? And why have I got to do that? And yeah, you'd have no context. But if you understood what school is about, it doesn't change what happens at school, but now you understand why you're doing it. And if the teacher came in one day and says, hey guys, got great news for you. Yeah, don't have to go to any more classes. There's going to be no more exams, no tests. You can show up whenever you want. It's all good. Oh, and by the way, nobody graduates. You're like, whoa, hang on a minute. But I'm here because I want my MBA. I'm here because I want my degree in this because that's where I want to go in my career. You see the difference? So you're here in Earth School. We're here to grow up. And in order to be able to grow up, we have to have the lessons and the challenges and the exams and what I call the graduation events, and to be able to build that muscle. And so if you understand that the unchallenged person remains juvenile, the strongest trees don't grow in the best soil. They grow in the strongest winds. And if we're here to be leaders in our community, to be able to become the best example of who we are, not only for ourselves, but for our loved ones in our community, then start praying for some strong winds and don't bitch about them when they show up. Am I making sense? Yes. You see, learning how to turn that around is an art form, but it's a practiced art form. And you can be upset about it in the moment. No one likes a surprise exam when they go to school. But we know it's part of the course. So I want to give you a different way to shift it, a different way to hold it. Use the metaphor of a gym. We're all familiar with the gym. See, if you want to win the gold medal of your life, then you've got to go to the gym and you've got to do some pretty decent workouts. And the personal trainer that you hire, let's call it Life, yes, a pretty good personal trainer, is responsible for helping you get that goal. Now, if you hire a really expensive personal trainer and you're not throwing up in 60 minutes, you'd want your money back, wouldn't you? Let's be honest. But Life loves us. Yeah? Einstein said the most important question a person can ask or answer in their lifetime is that, do I or do I not live in a friendly universe? That's a binary equation right there. Because if you think, you believe that you live in a friendly universe, you'll see Life as your personal trainer, and you may not want to work out today. And you may say, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, my arms are sore. And what do you mean I've got to do another 2 reps? But if you think you live in a hostile universe, you don't have a context for that, and you get a puncture on the way to meet your top prospect, or you get a health challenge, or something shows up and the bank calls in a loan, or whatever it may be, whatever weight's on that bar that you're required to lift, you can start bitching, complaining, and start taking a default victim mentality, and you're never going to graduate. And here's my experience. If you don't graduate whatever the test is, you'll have to resit the exam. Anyone notice that? You see that a lot in relationships. I'm having the same relationship with last 4 different people. It's like, everyone ever tell you that if everybody you meet's an idiot, maybe it's not them? All right? Until we learn, and we don't always get, we never get the lesson that we want, do we? We get the lesson that we need. It's like, I've got really strong arms. I'm really good at being able to do public speaking. But I've got skinny little legs, so I never train those in the gym. And all of a sudden now you're required to allow your team to get the significance and the accolades and push forward from the back to try to promote them, then take the limelight for yourself that your ego wants because that's what you're used to. You always get the lesson that you need. You're always called for that. And if not, expect to get the feedback. And yeah, your team will start to disintegrate, or you'll be given another opportunity, or you'll get on stage one day and bomb, or whatever it may be. Yeah, pertinent to whatever lesson it is in your life. If you haven't learned the lesson of what it's like to have, to love unconditionally or to have tolerance, then expect somebody you attract in your relationship sphere to be able to test that and push that button. Anyone under the illusion that the purpose of a relationship is to be happy? No. The purpose of a relationship is to attract somebody that represents what it is that you aren't willing to include so that you can grow through it. Now, that doesn't mean to say you can't be happy, but is the purpose of school to be happy? No, the purpose of school is to give you an environment where you can make better choices in order to grow up with respect to an education. Doesn't mean to say you can't be happy in school, doesn't mean to say you can't be happy in a relationship, but if you think that's its purpose, you're going to start resenting your partner whenever they hold up a mirror for you to have a look at what you need to have a look at. How many people are still learning that lesson? All right. So getting over the good opinion of others is a huge part of that. Learning how to be okay not being liked and being okay with that is a huge part of that. And you'll inspire more people and you'll push away with that as a belief system, trust me. And knowing that life is a growth-centric experience sets you up to win, because if you're in the gym and you don't have a context for that, here's what's going to happen. The next time adversity shows up for you, which it will, you're going to be asked to lift the bar. And it could be a tough bar. And we all get to lift them. I've lost both my parents. I've had business failures. I've had some pretty tough bars to lift, as we all do. The label we tend to use is adversity. But if I'm in the gym and I'm lifting that bar and it's really tough and I don't know if I can do it and I'm struggling, my personal trainer's saying, come on, no choice, you're not putting that bar down. I ain't gonna let you, let's go. If I take the perspective at that point of the muscle fiber, what's going on? What kind of message am I sending to the brain? Stop, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, I'm being broken down here, it's so painful, my God, send more signals out, what the hell, stop. But if I take and understand the perspective of the athlete, because I know I'm in the gym, and I'm here to get good, and I want that gold medal. Yeah, I'm proud that I can bust out another 2 reps and can't lift my arms for a week. Am I not? Yeah. So next time adversity shows up, pick a perspective. Because we're here in Earth School, like it or not. And once you understand that, life gets a lot easier. Is this making sense? Yes. Uh-huh. And if you don't have a context of that, you're going to be a complainer. You're going to be resentful at life. You're going to think life's out to get you. And what happens? Life's going to keep giving you that until you get the lesson that, you've got to shift your perspective. So if we look at one of the other characteristics, one of the other keys I want to share with you in terms of really making a success in this business, especially as you're all entrepreneurs. You're all practicing and demonstrating what I'm going to share with you next, but I want to help you take it to another level. And the biggest key, because I get asked a lot, I've built 26 companies now, something like that, over the last 30 years. Yeah, some have even worked. So some have failed majestically. Some have been multi-million-dollar international success stories, and some definitely should have stayed ideas when I was drunk. And everything in between. And for me, people always ask, what's the one key for being an entrepreneur? Everyone wants to know, what's the one key? Well, I've got news for you. There is no one key in anything. Life is not an instrument, it's an orchestra. But if I could share with you, one of the biggest keys that makes the biggest difference, especially to where you guys are now, it would be to build the muscle of being able to handle uncertainty. Just notice what shows up for you when I even say the word uncertainty. How many people get so in touch with emotionally that they get a little shift in themselves like that? Yeah. See, well, more news for you. I'm full of good news today, me. Where does certainty exist in nature? Death. Well, and the problem with death is that most people fear death because they don't have another context for it. See, I don't see death as the opposite of life. I see death simply as the opposite of birth. And I'm going to come back in the next round of Earth School and hopefully if I graduate this one, in year 8, let's say, I go to year 9. And guess what happens in year 9? Are the answers or the questions harder or easier? Harder. They're meant to be. I pass that one, I go to year 10, year 9. It's meant to be harder. Part of the game. If I fail it, I come back and resit it. You don't get the exact same questions, but you get the same level of questions. Welcome to Earth School. So, reconcile death, because if not, you're going to not have a context for being able to be okay with it. Because, I think Socrates once said, if something in the universe is inevitable, you shouldn't really pay much attention to it. And it's outside of your control. But learning how to deal with adversity and uncertainty is a skill. And I'll share with you everything I learned about dealing with uncertainty in a 60-second experience. If you don't mind, I'll share with you my biggest lesson on that. Be okay with that? Yes. Okay. How many people here, and I know you're a pretty maverick bunch, and I'll see if I can see between the lights here. How many people here have ever been crazy enough to have actually jumped out of a perfectly good moving airplane? Okay, I'm in the right room. Yeah, few of my tribe here. Yeah, I'm talking about skydiving, obviously. Now, I always wanted to skydive. From the age of 6, my mum caught me jumping out of an apple tree with an umbrella. Seriously, right? And it wasn't a Mary Poppins experience. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Mary Poppins. And so I always knew that was going to happen. The one challenge is I'm a Leicester boy, born and bred. And woohoo, yeah, that was about as enthusiastic as I felt when but I lived in England for most of my early life. I've fortunately traveled and lived abroad all over the world now, but I've lived in England for my first, up until my 20s, and I never saw the sun until I was 12. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? And so you can't really skydive here, because cloud base is always about 2,000-3,000 feet. Well, yesterday, I just landed into England yesterday, and cloud base was like 200 feet. Yes, it was insane. We came out of the clouds, and I could read the number plates off the cars. I'm like, yep, I'm back. So I didn't want to jump in England, so I decided to go jump in Florida. Now, you've got good sunshine, it's year-round, and so I went to Florida. Now, I was never very good at school. I dropped out of school at 16. I've got no formal qualifications. I couldn't spell MBA. That was never going to happen. And so I went to Florida, and I thought, it can't be that complicated to get your skydiving license. I mean, what do you got to do, guys? You got to jump out of an airplane, pull a cord, and gravity does the work, right? I had no idea. I got there, and instead of, putting on a parachute, they put me in a classroom, and I spent 8 hours on the first day in ground school learning everything you could possibly want to learn, and it was massively overwhelming. It was all about, everything about aerodynamics, plane entry-exit procedures, all about your equipment, malfunctions, what could happen, actions on, hand signals in the air, wind patterns, landing drills. I mean, it was just, whew. And for many people, and especially coming into this kind of business, the emotional route tends to be this. The overwhelm leads to confusion, which leads to inaction. In other words, people learn so much, they do what? Nothing. Yeah, and we think we're doing a favor sitting down with a new distributor and giving them a 4-hour lesson so they're an expert on the compensation plan and the recruiting structure and social media and like, boom, blown out of the water. Anyone ever made that mistake? Right? So, I was like massively overwhelmed. Now, the problem is, the worst that can happen in the scenario I just mentioned to you is that you get an inactive distributor. The worst thing that can happen in skydiving is something else, right? It's a technical term. We call it bouncing. So I walk out of this. It's like getting to the evening, and I walk out, and my head is a shed. I've got 8 hours of like brain fry going on, and all I want to do is go home or back to the hotel and review all of my notes and try to get some sort of semblance in. And just as I'm heading to the door, my flight instructor, my jump master, comes out. He goes, "Hey, Peter, guess what? Stop, come back. So what he says, great news. There's one slot left on the last jump of the day. It's called the sunset load. We're on it." I'm like, great. And anyway, I'm putting on my jumpsuit. And I get on my rig, and of course, my mind's whirring 10 to the dozen. And I go to get on the plane, and I've got 2 instructors with me. On your first jump in skydiving, it's not a tandem where you attach. This is solo jump. You jump out of the airplane, you have 2 instructors, and they fall either side of you, and they give you hand signals to work off. And I guess if you forget to pull your cord, they'll remind you. And so I get on the plane, and there's like 30 other advanced skydivers all in there, all going out for the sunset load. And there's one other guy who'd also been in class. It was his first jump, and he was sitting there with his 2 instructors. And he's sitting there, and he looks like this. I mean, fear everywhere, right? And I'm thinking, okay, so I look over. I don't think he's breathing. Okay? So anyway, the propellers kick in. We start hurtling down the runway. And all of a sudden, we take off, and we start circling up to altitude. And we get to 10,000 feet, a couple of kilometers above the clouds. And the red light comes on, which means get ready. And we're nearly there. And there's this excitement rippling through the aircraft. And all of a sudden, I'm looking around, and all these people are doing kit checks, and they're like smiling and everything else. And I'm looking over at this guy, still not breathing. Okay? And all of a sudden, the door opens, and this icy blast sort of comes in, kind of shocks me, wakes me up. It's like temperatures drop like 20 degrees. And the green light comes on. And all of a sudden, these skydivers all jump up, and they all get their kit on, and they all walk to the door, and they all sort of like high five, and they sort of jump, backflip, triple flip, out the door, gone into the abyss. Crazy bunch, gone. Wow. And there's just me and this other guy and our 2 instructors left in the plane. Anyway, he's nearest the door. He's going first. I'm happy with that. Yeah. And he gets up, and his entire physiology is like dead man walking. He's like that. And he gets to the door, and he clings on this tight. And the instructor looks up, and he goes, legal question on your first jump under the USPA, United States Parachute Association laws. You have to ask, are they ready? And they have to give a positive answer, obviously insurance or what have you. So he goes, are you ready to skydive? He's like this. Nothing. Other instructors, are you ready to skydive? Anyway, looks up, he unpeels his fingers, he looks out, he takes a breath, and he jumps. Back inside the plane. Right? And I'm over here, and I'm looking at him thinking, just not happening, is it, right? But these instructors, they're professionals, they do this all the time. They understand it's nervous on the first time. They get him back in state, and they get him all pumped up, and he's all happy to go again. He's like, okay, this is it. You ready? Yes, yeah, I'm ready. Okay. Yes. And he actually looks pretty good. Right up until the point he looks out. And he's like gripping hold again. And he freezes. And he goes, are you ready to skydive? Nothing. I think that's it. Forget it. Sit down. It's my go. But this instructor, last time he turns and says, John, he says, are you ready to skydive? Anyway, he looks out, he looks up, instructor 1, instructor 2, he unpeels his hands, he goes, over the din of the engine screams, no, no, no! This instructor goes, what was that? Go, go, go! And they throw him out. Seriously. And they jump out after him. And I'm sitting out here like this, I'm like, I go to my instructors, I'm like, did you see that? And they're calm as a cucumber. They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, but why do they do that? I'll never forget what they said. They said, it's quite simple, really. You don't jump, we don't get paid. And I'm thinking, there's many times in life where, we think we'll be okay and then we're not sure, but life only had a one-way ticket for us in its mind, right? And so now we're at 14,000 feet, and it's my turn. I'm like, whew. Okay, I can do this. Whew. Okay, here we go. Whoa, that's a long way down. Oh, no, come on, I got this. Yes, come on. Okay, so come on, strong. Whew. Yes. Whew. He goes, are you ready to skydive? I'm like, he's having a laugh. Yeah. Like it makes a damn difference. Right? I'm like, come on, I got this, ready. Okay, ready, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go, whoa, and I'm falling. Okay, stable, and here we go, and check altimeter, 11,000, I'm falling, here we go. Sight check, instructor 1, check, instructor 2, check, okay. Hand signal, arching more, okay, hand signal, relax, here we go, checking on, 7,000 feet and falling, 6.5, here we go, practice ripcord pull, and 1. Here we go, for real this time, 5,500 feet, this is it, waving off, pull, and, please open. And in 3 seconds, I went from 150, 130 miles an hour to 15 miles an hour, which taught me actually my biggest lesson of the day, which is you should never really get your straps wrong. Right? But I was under canopy, and it all went silent, and it was beautiful, and I came in, and I did a perfect landing, and it was like, it was this exhilaration, and I remember picking up my chute, and I put it over my shoulder, and I was walking back to the hangar. I got this big smile, And now I even saw the other guy, the guy they pushed, he was there too. He had this massive smile, probably because he was alive, I don't know. But anyway, I got in, never saw him again, by the way. He never came back. But I went in, I was walking into the hangar, and all of a sudden, this awareness hit me like a truck. Changed my life. I thought, whoa, hang on. When I was sat in the plane, what were the emotions that I was experiencing? Fear, anxiety, uncertainty, adrenaline, everything. The second I stepped out of that plane, everything changed. Fear, no, gone. Anxiety, haven't got time. Uncertainty, no, left it in the plane. Why? I'm falling. I'm in it. I'm doing it. I haven't got time for all that. I'm in the game. And it made me think or ask the question, how many times in our lives have we sat inside the plane when a business opportunity came along, when there was someone we wanted to ask out on a date, when an opportunity presented itself at some level, or something we knew we needed to do, but we were too afraid, and we sat there and we ran it through the spreadsheet, and we asked 4 friends that weren't qualified to answer, and all of that stuff, when all we ever had to really do, guys, was what? Jump out of the plane, you know? And it made me realize that we talk ourselves out so many times, because by the time we do usually pick up the courage, which is where life says, hang on, you got to go, we've already overshot the drop zone. Our guts now saying, well, you can go now, but you're not going to get the rewards that you would have got. Now it's a long walk back to the hangar. You know? How many times in life, how many of us are still doing it? And for some of us, it's not just the opportunity. It could be the ability to say sorry. It could be having the courage to jump out and apologize to mend a broken relationship that your ego is not letting you do. It could be the courage to go do something that you don't get recognition for, but it was the right thing to do, and we've got to have that internal conversation. But if you build the muscle, I've got news for you. You're going to be so much more prepared in Earth School when it comes down to things like handling adversity. But if you don't build the muscle, guys, you can't use the muscle. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then you're in for a tough ride. Now, I'm very grateful that one of the things as an entrepreneur for 30 years this year that I've been is that as someone who's completely unemployable at every level, I get tested in Earth School a lot, and I'm happy with that because I understand the game. But every so often we'll get what I call a graduation event. And that graduation event happened to me last year. I was arguing a business deal in court with a big, huge $140 billion company, not a smart move, that should remain nameless as Hewlett-Packard. And we were arguing the toss over a business deal I'd done 6-7 years before in Dubai. I'd bought $12.5 million worth of goods, paid in full, resold it, made a small margin, blah, blah. They got a bit jealous over that. And essentially, they knocked on my door a couple of years ago with a worldwide freezing order suing me for $17 million. Yeah, and I was just about to go to the gym, have my breakfast, whatever, normal day in the office, and like, whoa, what? And I'm like, where the hell did you get that from? And they're like, well, that's the difference between the wholesale price and the retail price that we sold it at. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. They says, well, yeah, but we've got more money than you, and why don't you give us $100 grand and we'll make it all go away? I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, financial extortion, and of course, typical. Anyone familiar with the term indigo children? Yeah, well, I'm a typical sort of indigo, and rather than say, well, that sounds like a reasonable suggestion, let's sit down and discuss it, I kind of went, fuck you. Because they thought, well, he's going to spend 6 figures on legal costs, and then he's a businessman, he won't be stupid enough to roll the dice. And of course, I was stupid enough to roll the dice. So, and I'm thinking no judge on the planet will entertain that. Anyway, 6 months later, they sue me out of the blue for a contempt of court application, or they put in a contempt of court application saying I breached the freezing order, which I said, absolutely no way. All right? And I thought it was a typical chess move, and please listen to me, anyone that's in business, not just the networking, but traditional business specifically as well. We live in a world which is outstandingly litigious. And in business, one of my mentors, Dan Pena, taught me this, says in business, litigation is nothing more than a tool. It's a move on the chessboard. And for many people, that's what it is. When Apple sued Samsung over patent infringements, it had nothing to do with patent infringements. That was eventually dropped, but it had everything to do with obtaining a blocking of Samsung being able to present their products at the Berlin Fair so Apple could get a step on the ladder. You understand what I'm saying here? Right? It's just a chess move. So I thought it's a chess move, and the judge will laugh it out of court in 5 minutes to try to put more pressure on me. So I show up fairly unprepared, yeah, and they sold it to the judge. He gave me 6 months in prison as the only civil prisoner, non-criminal, never even been accused of a crime. It's a weird quirk in English law. And in one of Britain's toughest jails, Pentonville, of all places, 200-year-old Victorian prison. 3 deaths in 1 week, I think, was the worst week I was there. And lost my business, went from 53 staff to 3 staff in 3 weeks because, I told everyone, I didn't even give them a heads up of what was really going on. So I've got to pop into court next week, get rid of this bullshit that I thought was going on. And when it started looking like it was going the wrong way, my girl turned around to me at the time, I was in court, says, what's going on? This looks like it's not going the way we thought it would go. I learned a lot about how court procedure works, by the way. It's, let's call it courtroom theater with who can hire the best storytellers. But I said, well, no, it looks like I might even be going on holiday here, honey. And she goes, well, why is this happening? And I sat and I said, I'll be honest with you. I said, look, I've been very, very blessed that over the last 20 plus years, a lot of people have been impacted by the work that I've been lucky enough to share. I says, but many people probably, that could benefit may not be able to because they might be in a place like that. If the universe wants to go and put me in there so I can go do my work, let me go do my work. And I would never for 1 second had the identity of a prisoner going in. I had the identity of a secret agent of change. And I had a mission. Oh. And I have to tell you from scratch, had I not built the muscle prior to that, I'd have probably had a pretty tough time. But in the end, it turned out to be one of the most thrilling, inspiring, and most incredible adventures I've ever had the privilege of living. And I came out, and of course, as soon as I came out, Hewlett-Packard dropped all the allegations, never made it to court, as I knew it wouldn't. One of those things. And, but I was able to go in there and just do what I do, as any one of us would do what we do as a natural expression of who we are. I happen to have some, a little bit of knowledge I've been fortunate enough to have gained over the years by standing on the shoulders of some of the giants that I've studied under that I can impart. And I'm very pleased to say that, that legacy continues. I probably impacted, I don't know how many people in there at the time, but it's continuing into thousands every month right now because I redesigned all of the intake system for new prisoners that were a deer in the headlights. I won a national award for getting people off drugs, stopping suicides, and all sorts, all that kind of stuff. Thank you. And I don't say that to try and impress you guys, but more impress upon you the fact that, again, I said right at the beginning, I'm not special. I'm here to be able to show you as an example of that no matter what happens in life. And I was so grateful that I had that as a graduation event, not a terminal illness diagnosis, not a close friend that passed away in my arms or other events that other people have to deal with. I got off light. I just got to go and do my work in a way that I would never have the opportunity to do before and see things I'd only ever seen on TV. It was cool. In fact, the first thing that happened when I walked in the first night, and the prison officer turned around when he gave me my sort of clothes and stuff, and they're not orange, by the way. And he says, can I ask you a question? So he says, are you a copper? I'm like, no, and please don't give me that label. And then I'm in the waiting room, and I go for the medical that you do before you go in. I'm sat there, and I'm talking with the doctor, and the doctor says, can I ask you a question? I says, yeah. He says, are you undercover? Right? And I said, no, why? I says, curious. I says, the second person that's kind of mentioned that. Why? He says, I've never seen somebody so happy on their first ever day in prison. Right? Right? And I told him why I thought I was there. I said, well, actually, I think I am undercover. Right? Anyway, he didn't prescribe me crazy pills, which was a good sign. Right, and so I went in, and every 2 weeks I wrote to my elite coaching clients, and I says, listen, guys, complaining about what's already happened is stupid. Crying over spilt milk doesn't put the milk back in the bottle, right? Most people waste so much time in life on regret, they never be able to climb out of it. All right, that's just, whatever's happened, the river of life is always going to bend. That's the river of life. And yet nothing happens in straight lines. There are no straight lines in nature. Deal with it. Our left brain thinks that it's, that's the way to go. No way. But if you learn to flow with the river of life, it always turns out right, rather than resist the current. Resisting the current is futile. So I said, I'll write to you. I said, I don't know why I'm here. Well, I kind of do, because I'm here to help people, but I'm still unfolding at that point. I said, but I'm going to write every 2 weeks and keep you up to date with what's going on. I'm going to teach you everything I've been teaching you guys for the last couple of years, right? I'll show you how to demonstrate in a real life. I call it case study. And those letters, I wrote 11 letters. That's actually what became the book, The Inside Track, which is kind of part journal, part how-to. And it's a real, quite a read, because it's what unfolds as it goes through. It's not written after the fact, and all sorts of things, from attempted murders to me breaking bones and all kind of other weird stuff. But my point being here, guys, is that to be able to have the ability to work through something like that as an adventure, and I saw it, and I wrote to them and told them, said, listen, I'm simply on location for 6 months filming the prison scene of the movie of my life. Right? That's it. Right? I'll be back soon. Yeah, and if you take the movie metaphor one step further, you take James Bond. Right? Daniel Craig. Yes, James Bond. James Bond, you don't want to pay good money to go watch James Bond rescue a kitten out of a tree for 90 minutes, do you? No one wants to pay for that movie. Right? So, as a result, I said, no, what do you want in a movie? You want everything. You want comedy and drama and intrigue and tragedy and romance. You want everything. You want to finish the end. If I was lucky enough to be able to choose the last words out of my mouth in this adventure, guys, it would be, wow, now that was spectacular. That's the kind of life you want to live. Not a life built into a comfort zone because you don't understand you're in the gym. Yeah, go grab the medal. And for me, if there's a scene where James Bond reads the script, Daniel Craig reads the script, and there's a scene in there where he's on the beach with a Victoria's Secret model, he may like those scenes. But there's also scenes in the movie where he's wrestling on location in the Arctic, away from his family, under the ice, and all of that stuff. But as a professional actor, his role is to be as good at every single scene, is it not? And accept every scene, no matter what. And if that means being under the ice and cold and away from his family, fine. And I was simply filming that scene for 6 months in my movie on location, and I had an absolute blast doing it. And that's not out of the realm of any single person in this room once you understand how to build that muscle. And once you do, once you be able to step up as an example for the people in your life and show them that it's not superhuman, it's just human. It's who we are. Once you've got a context of being able to be here to become the best version of who you are, you realize that life is about being able to go and win the Academy Award. It's about putting yourself in environments like this. And I can't wait for Success Summit 3, by the way. It's about being able to look in the eye of life when it swings the bat as your personal trainer and say, bring it on. I don't know if I can do another rep, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Because I'm here to be the best version of me I can. And when the next opportunity presents itself, when the next ability to handle rejection presents itself, when the next distributor quits or the next one in your team gets on stage and you're proud of them, no matter what it is that presents itself, I'm here to invite you, step out of the plane. I love you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for what you created.
Give it up for Peter again! We are so lucky to have Peter come and share some of his valued time with you. I hope you got some value out of that. I pretty much used the whole of my workbook then. I was like, no, where's my notes? Where's my workbook? Get it! Brilliant. Who's had a good time so far?
Love you, man.